$20,000 as your income in the year 2020, you can actually take it over the next 3 years. Never been done before. And again, you can actually do a distribution and convert to a Roth IRA. If you do that, you can spread the taxes by that conversion over 3 years as well. So if you're near retirement and you want to start positioning your money maybe a little bit better than where it is, know what the tax effects are going to be, you got a little bit of time to do this. Not a lot. We're all right here in September 22, so it's going by fast. The other thing is, let's say I take a TSP loan now, and you took it out today, September 22nd. You have 1 year before you have to pay a nickel in interest on a loan. Again, never happened before. I don't want to encourage anybody to use their TSP for anything but retirement, but if you're in a pickle, you're in a bad spot, maybe COVID hit your family, maybe your spouse lost a job and you're in a pickle, look at the options of what's available to you, and we're happy to help you with them and make sure you decipher so you don't make a mistake. Next slide, please. So let's think about the withdrawal considerations. We're going to briefly go over the negatives. The negatives are pretty much a very simple thing. Is, hey, Fred, my money's in TSP. The fund fees are extremely low. The reason why they're low is it's not truly what they call a managed account. So when you're in that seed fund, as I mentioned earlier, if the fund manager even wanted to say Apple's a better buy than BP, they can't put a higher percentage in Apple because it's not a managed fund. So there's a reason why your fees are low. It's truly called a passively managed fund. So now let's look at the positives where, hey, Fred, maybe I should look at what's on the outside and maybe there's something a little bit better for me. So let's consider that. Next slide, please. So what's the favor? Well, folks, there are fixed vehicles out there available to you. Now, if you're over the age of 59, or this is not, something we can have a conversation yet, there are fixed vehicles out there that give a higher fixed rate than your G fund if you're close to safety. And we also call, if you're within 5 years of retirement, we call that the red zone. Folks, I think a lot of us realize how scary the stock market. A lot of us forgot how 2007 to 2008 knocked us down 38% in a very short period of time. And if I'm near retirement, can I really be positioned to take that kind of hit? You got to be careful. So the outside, there's vehicles that you can't lose a nickel. Market can go up. You might participate for 4.25, but you can't lose if the market goes bad. Because when you're in the red zone, there's one thing you can't afford. That's a fumble, and you can't afford an interception. So you want to protect the ball. That's your money. You're close to retirement. But what availabilities do I have is I got to leave everything in a G fund is my only guarantee. In the TSP, there's things on the outside you're not even aware of that might be a little bit better with a lot more up potential with no risk whatsoever. Now, also, there are 20,000 mutual funds on the outside. 20,000. So you may say, Fred, I'd like to have 10% of what I have in a healthcare fund. Fred, I'd like a strategic fund where the fund manager is not passively managing it, they're actively managing it. And maybe they're averaging that 7% return, but I'm at half the risk of a C fund, yet I have less risk. Well, on the outside, there's a lot of options. So you have that, but you got to be careful. I would say make sure you meet with the professional and make sure the options that they're even proposing fits your investment risk. Because everything we talk about is all about you as an individual. Some of us can't handle losing 10%. Some of us have thicker skin. So we got to understand we're all individuals. There's no right answer, wrong answer. That's why we sit down with everybody on an individual basis to get to know you. Are you positioned right is the question. Next slide, please. So TSP checklist is there's no real losers except for those who do not at least take advantage of the 5% match. We also want you to make sure your beneficiaries have been updated. I cannot tell you how many times somebody got married and they just forgot to put them on. They still got mom and dad. or they now have children and they're now 18 and they would like to leave them as beneficiaries secondary to their spouse. You got to update your form. So make sure it might be something you guys put on your to-do list. Just contact to see who is your beneficiary. Are those the people you still want? And that's not just the primary, but also the contingent beneficiary. And the most important thing always is going to be understand your risk tolerance. Too little risk can be bad too because it might not keep pace with inflation. We got to be careful of all those options, and we got to understand there's two sides to TSP. You have your account balance. For most people, we want to keep that moderate, even if we're 45, 50. Why? We're in election year. These next 2 months are going to be turbulent. What if, and I'm not trying to play politician, it goes the way that Wall Street don't think it's going to be in the election? You think there not being a correction in the market? Quite possibly can. Is this a time to be sticking my chest out and be super aggressive? Absolutely not. That said, you have the other side of TSP. It's called current contributions. That side, believe it or not, should be somewhat aggressive. And the reason being is I'm only buying with those dollars. I'm not holding with those dollars. So we got to keep in mind is how do I balance it right? Well, we'll sit down with you, even if you're 30 years of age, and just make sure you're allocated the way you should. We're happy to do that as a free service here at Kreutzer Financial. Between my son and I, we meet with federal employees every day, make sure you guys are positioned for the long ride. Next slide, please. Well, guys, now we're going to jump into, so we got a lot about money issues there. You learned, there's options out there, especially when you get over 59 and a half. But that also means if we get over 59 and a half, we got other things to think about. And there's this thing called Social Security. And most people we talk to think it's cookie cutter, easy. I turn it on because I can. We want you to turn it on because it makes sense. And this is where the biggest mistake we make. I'm proud to say that I have spoken all over the state of Maryland and Delaware on Social Security issues. We teach classes called Social Security Maximization. We believe this is the biggest component of your retirement plan. Because believe it or not, you have more control than you think of in how you design your retirement. So you're going to be mystified by all the options of Social Security after we get done chatting here. Freddie and myself also will do for you, if you're over the age of 50, we can't do it till then, a Social Security maximization. I would need both yours or you and your spouse's Social Security statement, and I will ask you some personal questions, and we will show you how do you personally maximize your Social Security. So let's understand the basics. It's really easy. If somebody has 40 quarters, they receive benefits in retirement. It only takes $50 to $100 a year to get 4 credits. And then we got to understand that there's a thing called FRA. And that's what you're seeing right here, Social Security eligibility. Now, we can all turn it on at 62 and 1 month, but that means we're taking out our Social Security at the absolute lowest denominator it will ever be. Not always a smart decision. But it's all going to come down to, folks, do you have options? So if you look at, if you were born before 1943 and 1954, your FRA, full retirement age, is 66. For every year you were born after 1954, add 2 months until you hit the year of 1960. Everybody 1960 and over, you must be 67 to receive full retirement age benefits. Now, if you look at the age 62 benefit for someone 66, they only get 75% of what they would have got at 66. If you look at somebody who's 67 benefit, their age 62 benefit, they only get 70%. That's a 30% haircut for someone who may need more income later in life. Next slide, please. So what is earned income? So if you have retired and you still have earned income and you're over the age of 62 in 1 month, you will $1 for every $2 you make above $18,240. Do I want to turn Social Security on? I'm still working a job making $35,000-$40,000 part-time, and I take the benefit. I got to give back $1 for every $2 I make above that figure, and I took it at a 75 or 70% haircut. Generally not a really wise move. Then you can look at the year of full retirement. You can make up to $48,600, but there's still a penalty. But the month your full retirement age is, it's unlimited earnings, and there's no penalty. So no matter what your job is, if you still want to work in retirement, there's no penalty to $1 regardless of what you make. So the perfect world, that's where we want it to be. We do not want to give back benefits on monies that we receive because we make too much money. Now, once you turn on that benefit at 62 in 1 month, you're stuck until your age of full retirement age. Now, if you're within the first 12 months, you can pay it back as if you never took it out. But after that, you're stuck until FRA. Then you can suspend your benefits and let them grow again. This is why we want to make these decisions before you get there, not when you're in there and you made a mistake and try to reverse things. Next slide, please. So let's look at some understanding. Okay, Fred, me and my spouse both want to turn on our benefits at 62. I'm a federal employee. She will receive no pension benefit on her own upon retirement. But at 62, we both want to retire. Well, let's look at it. Your pension is $1,500. But if you die, your spouse only gets $750, correct? They get 50%. But you say, Fred, but look, I got $1,600 a month of my Social Security. My spouse gets $1,400 a month. We got an income of $4,500 in 62. Fred, we're golden. We don't need any more. Uh-oh, you think not. But the reality of life is one day, husband and wife, somebody's going to pass away. And when that day happens, will there be changes to your benefits? Absolutely. So let's assume the husband dies who had the pension benefit. She only gets half of his $1,500, which is $750. Who had the two? Who had the higher Social Security benefit between the two? He did. But he took it at 62 because he could, not because it made sense. Well, guess what happens? Her benefit goes bye-bye. You only keep one of the two Social Security benefits when one of you pass. So what's happened to the family income when he dies? It went from $4,500 down to $2,350. Now, I don't think many of us would think we could make it on that. I know I couldn't, nor would I want my wife to. So that's a 48% haircut because we didn't plan properly. Next slide, please. Now, let's say in this scenario, the husband deflated his to his FRA, full retirement age benefit. So now, yes, he has less income right off the bat. Instead of having $4,500 because he's not taking his Social Security, he has $2,900 total income in the house. Why is it important that I talked about TSP first? TSP, no different than if you have IRAs and savings on the outside, is what I call an option. What we need with those dollars that we want you to have saved is allows me to buy you, build you a bridge to get to that age where you can maximize your Social Security. So hopefully we have good savings that we can pull from age 62 to age 66. If so, now let's look how the dynamic has changed. So hopefully we were able to fill that void in those 4 years by savings to make up for the difference. But age 66 now, I have an income of $5,300 because we went from $1,600 in Social Security to $2,400 a month. Now, somebody passes away this time, our benefits are $3,150 total. We still only get 50% of our Social Security, pension benefit to the spouse, but now the spouse keeps the larger of the two. And it may even benefit you to say, hey, Fred, I got enough savings. Maybe I'll wait till age 70. Because guess what happens beyond the age of 66. This is one of those little secrets no one tells you. Do you know for every year you delay your Social Security beyond FRA, it grows at a guaranteed rate of 8% a year? Well, folks, I'm a really good financial advisor, have for 31 years. There's no place I can put your money and guarantee you an 8% rate of return. And if your wife predeceases you before you retire, took your Social Security, you could collect a widow's benefit of hers and let your benefit keep on growing. So we call it hedging a bet, making sure we understand how to play Social Security, because it's very complex and there's a lot of options. Next slide, please. So look at the difference at 62. So we say, when is break-even point? Well, the break-even point is usually about 10.6 years. So between me and my wife, I'm assuming one of us are going to live in their 80s. So if I delay mine to age 70, and one of us two live beyond 82, we enter a win-win situation. Because look at the difference of the benefit at 62. You get 2,037. If you're able to delay it, if you have enough savings and you can put it all, your benefit grows to 37.29 by the time you're then. Now, here's the big mistake most people don't understand about Social Security. Of the 3 checks you're going to get in retirement, we'll talk about traditional TSP, traditional IRA. You pay 100% federal tax on the distributions. You pay state tax on the distributions. When you look at your pension, you're going to pay federal tax on your pension benefit. You're going to pay state tax. How about Social Security? So let's say you're the beneficiary of allowing your benefit to go to 70. $3,729 a month. That means $37.29 times 12, $44,000. What's the state tax on that? How do you like zero? How do you like zero? There's no state tax. So why would I want to take that denominator at its lowest point when it's the most tax-friendly check I'm going to receive, unless you have a Roth IRA? This is the most tax-friendly. Even that, let's say you're a very well-to-do person and you have a great pension and your income is more than $44,000 in retirement. You know, federally, they cannot tax more than 85% of your benefit. So if I had that benefit at $37.29, 9 times by 85% means they can only tax $38,000. The rest is tax-free federally. There's no place you're going to go and get that tax-free. So we got to understand Social Security is very complex, but you got to bet smart. Some of the questions my son and I were asked you. What's your health? How are you? That's a big question. Only the Lord above knows how long we're going to be here, but we've got to make the best educated decisions based on the educated information we have on when do we turn benefits on and when we don't. Next slide, please. So before we get over to Walt with the Furrows, there's one more thing I want to talk about Social Security, and that is if you're divorced and you were married more than 10 years, you may be entitled to your spouse's benefits. So these are the kind of things. Come in here, ask questions. We will advise you based on your personal situation because it can get very complex. I have a gal. She went ahead and retired and took her benefits at 66 instead of waiting until 70. And the reason being is her previous husband, who she was married to for 20 years, he has remarried. He was a judge, the highest income you can imagine. So he maximizes all the time. When he dies, his current wife gets his benefit as well as his ex-wife because she hasn't remarried. So you're learning Social Security is very complex and hard to navigate on your own. And that's why we take the time to really understand this so we can pass it on to you. Well, without further ado, I'm going to pass this segment, FERS, and all the benefits of FERS, to our wonderful friend, Walt Ward from Las Vegas.